on record that LeBron James, he kind of avoids Stephen A. Smith at all costs, and it's causing some type of, animosity between them two. But before we get into it to further details, I want to play this clip, and I'm going to stop it as we go on, but I want y'all guys to understand why we here, why we in this moment. And I can, briefly tell you guys what, how I feel about it. But I want you guys to get the gist of the conversation by hearing what Stephen A. Smith has to say and why LeBron James is acting the way he's acting towards the situation. So without further ado, man, Stephen A., it's on you, man.
All right, so JJ trying some things out there, Stephen A. in Philadelphia, giving Bronny first quarter playing time. Why the face or the hand or the everything that's happening?
I'm really, really trying to be as respectful as I possibly can be towards LeBron James. One of the top 2 or 3 players in the history of basketball, number 2 in my eyes. A treasure to the game of basketball that we should and will all miss when he is gone. I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. The first game of the season, opening night, the Griffeys in attendance, father-son duo playing in an NBA game for first time, an absolutely positively wonderful story. And then reality sets in. We love what we're seeing from him in the G League because that's where you belong. As you hone your skills and you get better and you legitimately earn, which I believe he has the potential to do, I am rooting for Bronny James. It would be cruel to root against him. It's a wonderful kid. I wish him nothing but the best. But he's LeBron James' son. And everybody knows what attention that brings. Molly, Doggy, put them up on the screen because I want to see their face when I say this. Right now, Bronny James is averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. You know what people are saying. You know what they're going to do to this kid. In 13 games, he has played 44 minutes. He has scored 4 points. He is shooting 1 of 16 from the field, 0 for 7 from three-point range. How are you doing him favors? We know that he's not ready yet. And I'm saying this with compassion. I'm asking the greatest player in the game, one of the top 2 players in the history of basketball, an ambassador for this game, the face of the league, a 4-time champion, a guy that's gone to 10 NBA finals, one of the greatest we have ever or will ever see, who is a basketball savant. You know, better than me, better than Doggy, better than J.J. Redick, better than Rob Pelinka, better than any basketball analysis or analyst that exists. You know what these numbers mean. You know what it's going to do to your son, to people who are missing out on opportunities, that are busting their tail on other NBA teams in the G League, in Europe, and everywhere else, what kind of opportunity they're starving for. You're exposing your son like this? I know I'm not questioning LeBron James' intent as if it's dishonorable, Doggy. It's incredibly honorable. It's a wonderful dad. I swear to y'all on everything I love, I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. I'm simply saying, to have that moment on game 1 of the NBA season is one thing. To propel it to a point where he's on the bench, he's in uniform, he's taking up a roster spot, and now you're giving him time in the first quarter, and you see the absence of production. How are you helping him? I just don't get it. I really don't see, I really don't get it. I really don't. But never before has it been more ridiculous than it is right now.
All right. Now, all right. So, for those for those of you who's been living under a rock, or who's probably not in tune with Stephen A. Smith and sports in its totality, I just wanted to play that first clip because that was how it started, right? That was how it started, and Stephen A. Smith was one of the ones who exposed the fact that LeBron James' son, Bronny James, does not deserve to be in the NBA, based on his talent. And, he's basically using the narrative of LeBron James being a bad father for putting his son into this predicament, right? And, I just want you guys to know how it started, because what I'm about to say, I just want to put it in perspective for you guys and how powerful Stephen A. Smith's word is, being that he's $100 million man now, and ESPN is paying him a pretty penny because his word travels. This guy, without me trying to throw smut on his name, he's been living up to the expectation and he's getting paid for it, and he's a well-known guy. His word is literally like solidified in the sports world. Like whatever he say goes, and I acknowledge that. And I'm pretty sure LeBron James acknowledged it too. So when he say things like this, it settles, and it's face value. You know what I mean? It's not like one of these small podcasters or small sports analysts who say things and it doesn't reach the audience that it needs to reach because of the fact that they so low class, right? So LeBron James finally, made some type of statement. And one of the Lakers games, he approached Stephen A. and told him basically, don't talk shit about my son, right? Talk shit about me. You can say whatever you need to say about me, but when it comes to my son, keep his name out your mouth, basically. You know what I mean? And I'm coming to you as a father. Like this don't have anything to do with basketball. And now the video that I'm about to play for you guys now, I want you to follow the storyline, and I'll get back with you guys after that. Have some more commentary on it. So this is Stephen A. elaborating on more of what LeBron James kind of narrated, or what was his intentions and how he strategically planned for his son to come into the NBA. So this is him talking about that.
Because the reality is that we got to be real about what we're seeing when we talk about Bronny James. I am not a person that had a problem with Bronny James being on the court for the season opener with LeBron James. That was a phenomenal moment to see a father on the court with his son who has NBA aspirations playing together for the first time in NBA history. The Griffeys in baseball, Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. were in attendance for it. It was a special moment. My position has always been that should have been the only moment we saw Bronny James in a Lakers uniform this season. Because he's not ready. I'm not here to tell you that he won't be ready. I'm not here to tell you that he won't be an NBA player. I'm not here to tell you that he should give up his dreams and his aspirations. I think the kid's got potential. I think the kid will be in the NBA one day. I watched him in the G League doing his thing. I think he's going to be fine eventually. But that's not the case yet. And because it's not the case yet, and then you see some of these numbers, I do find myself looking at LeBron James instead of Bronny James. Because LeBron is the basketball savant. LeBron is one of the top two greatest players in the history of the game. LeBron has forgotten more basketball than most people would know. So no matter what we think about Bronny, he knows more. But you see what you see. Bronny James has played in 13 NBA games. Ladies and gentlemen, he's averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. He shot 1 for 16 from the field in his NBA career and 0 for 7 from three-point range. And he's playing in the first quarter of an NBA game? Really? And everybody wants to look at it, and LeBron has nothing to do with that. He didn't tell J.J. Redick to put him in the game. I get all that. But come on. I'm not being cruel to Bronny. I'm looking out. Do you want it this way, LeBron? Do you want it this way, Rich Paul? Big Perk, this question, just a yes or no answer, Perk.
All right, hold on. So that was the first video that I showed was Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, right? Elaborating on his thoughts on LeBron James and Bronny James, right? Then he went on his platform that probably same night or week and reiterated the same thing, but with, being more open, being that it's his podcast at night, right? And I feel that that's when it triggered LeBron, how excessive it was becoming, right? And how Stephen A. Smith was putting more emphasis on it. So that's when LeBron took it upon himself and approached him, right? So after that, I didn't record this video because the video that I'm about to speak about, because of it was more or less of a silent just video of LeBron James approaching Stephen A. Smith and Stephen A. Smith feeling some type of way. And after that, it took a turn for the worse. But before I get into that part, I want to let you guys know that this situation was a pivotal moment for LeBron James to. It was a breaking point for LeBron James to respond, right? And LeBron James clearly took this personal. And this was mainly about basketball. And Stephen A. Smith's thing is he never go personal. He always, when he speaks, is always about basketball. But LeBron James took it personal because it's his son. And anybody had every right to do that, right? Because it's my son. At the end of the day, I don't care if you're talking about basketball. I don't care if you're talking about school, whatever it is, you're talking about my son. And I feel like I have to approach you from a father perspective that, don't talk about my son, like at this moment, for sure. We know we're in the NBA, but just because that's my son, don't talk about him, right? What did Stephen A. Smith do? He went online, because of it, and dug deeper, right? And in him doing that, he kind of went like really low, right? And I'm gonna play this other video, which caused some ruckus. In fact, I think after LeBron James responded to him and approached him in a manner where he approached him like a man and went up to his face at that game, I feel like Stephen A. kind of took that personal. And this is where it gets tricky, All of these sports analysts, and this goes for everybody other than Stephen A. Smith, right? You guys are out here talking about these NBA players as if they're not humans, and they're not, they are people. They're real people with feelings, right? So anything you say about them, they're gonna kind of take it personal, whether it's about basketball or not. Even though you're not supposed to take it personal, but they're human. It's natural. So it's a reaction that we all have, right? But what I'm learning in this case is when the shoe is on the other foot, now you guys are seeing what they really truly feeling, because I believe LeBron James went on to the Pat McAfee podcast and started talking about Stephen A. Smith, saying that he totally missed the point. He literally went on there and said Stephen A. Smith totally missed the point. You know what I mean? And he knows that him talking about Stephen A. Smith on that platform, he's going to take that and he's going to run with it, and he's going to, make every other show about LeBron James and his son because of the fact that he's addressing this situation, right? And that's exactly what Stephen A. Smith did. So Stephen A. Smith took it upon himself to go deep and spread some false narratives. And I want you guys to hear the false narratives that was spread, and then I'll come back with some more commentary on this part.
God rest his soul, if Kobe Bryant was still alive, with Mind Your Game, Kobe, LeBron, that would have absolutely positively been box office, must see. Would LeBron have done that podcast? I'm just asking.
I don't know, but let me say.
Got it.
All right,
Let me say
Stephen A. You can hear Stephen A. Smith was so out of pocket in this instance. Kendrick Perkins didn't even know how to respond to that. But that's just Stephen A. Smith being petty because LeBron James gave him a little bit of his own medicine and started talking about him. And this is how he responded to LeBron. So it's funny to me to see Stephen A. Smith actually getting offended and offensive based on what somebody has to say about them. It's funny how roles have changed, right? You guys paying attention? He went and brought up, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant, bro. This was such a low blow. It was distasteful. It was just something that's unacceptable. And he went on and just continued to talk. So now he's bringing Kobe into it. So let's hear more with Stephen A. How low Stephen A. is going to go. Pause.
That's just a question. I don't know the answer. I was just asking.
I think he would, but look, let me say this.
And
I suggested he be happy with the things that I haven't brought up.
Hold on. Now, Kendrick Perkins is one of the ones who he doesn't follow LeBron James. They played on the same team, but ever since Kendrick Perkins became like a sports analyst, he kind of said some things about LeBron. LeBron kind of, separated himself from him, so they're not really on the same page. But even in this instance, when he asked him where he had bought Kobe Bryant on that show, Mind the Game, being that Kobe Bryant has a smart mind and they, great minds think alike, and that's that show with J.J. Redick and LeBron James. And now, it was narratives that LeBron James only, the narrative that Stephen A. Smith is trying to say is that LeBron James only, does, team, he only team up with white people. You know what I mean? Being that Steve Nash is the newest person on the Mind the Game podcast where they talk about, basketball and stuff like that. The X's and O's about basketball. So that's Kendrick Perkins' narrative. So what Stephen A. Smith tried to do strategically, he tried to, since Kendrick Perkins said that about LeBron James, he tried to throw Kobe in there to see if Kendrick Perkins was going to agree with him. And Kendrick Perkins clearly said, I think he would have done it. So you can tell it was so low that Kendrick Perkins couldn't even go that low. So with that being said, he even pushed it a step further by saying this. Check this out, guys.
Brought up really and never really discussed why you were not at Kobe Bryant's memorial service.
Oh my!
I never really brought up or discussed why you did not attend Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction when that man was directly responsible for you capturing a championship for the first time in your career. I brought up none of that.
All right. So now this is where I want to get into, right? We all know Stephen A. Smith is known for saying he never takes it out of the sport, right? He never takes it personal. Every time he speaks about somebody in regarding to sports, it always stayed on a topic of sports, right? Now, this, beside him being wrong, with the fact that LeBron James didn't attend Kobe's funeral, it just shows that this is straight personal, bro. And this is a contradiction of everything Stephen A. Smith stands for. And forever, this will be the new Stephen A. Smith to me, because I knew what type of person this guy was. And when you talk about him online, he shows that he's just as bad as anybody else he speak about. Let's say Draymond Green. Let's say Kyrie Irving. Let's say Kevin Durant. Let's say LeBron James. Stephen A. Smith is the same. And I'm not saying that what those guys stood for was right or wrong. I'm just saying that Stephen A. Smith on that pedestal where he's at, talking about these gentlemen, is contradictory. It's contradictory to what he's saying right now, because I feel like if they were those low class people at that moment of time, he's on that same, level of as far as low class. I'm not saying that it was low class situations that they went through. I'm just speaking in general terms, right? If you use Stephen A. Smith narrative. Now I say that to say he's basically contradicting himself, and he's showing this in this little videos that I just showed you guys. So yeah, man, I just wanted to say that, I just feel like Stephen A., you got to do a better job at talking about these basketball players and keeping it on the sport. This is why this should be a good lesson for you to learn on why you should keep it on the sport. If somebody's not performing, yeah, you talk about it. If somebody is doing great, yeah, you talk about it. If somebody's switched teams, yeah, you talk about it, bro. But when it comes to their personal lives, leave it be, bro. Because you was just a victim of somebody talking about you and you taking it personal. That just should show you that, we are all humans and we should just be respectful and stay on topic. So with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in to Convos in the Cave. We're going to hit you guys with some more videos. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next, but hit me in the comments, man. I'll talk back, man. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell so you get your videos early, man. We out.